hello, amigas. Welcome to Amiga Handle Your Shit podcast. I am your host here, Jackie Tapia, and this is where faith-led Latina entrepreneurs harness power, purpose, legacy, and holistic wealth to rise and thrive in this new era. So, amigas, I'm excited to have a very distinctive guest. His name is Alain Romero, founder of Forest to Fortune, the regenerative investment company that reimagines how high net worth individuals, family offices, and purpose driven investors can align profit, planet, and people. Allen combines deep financial acumen with impact forestry strategy using high value tropical hardwoods, agroforestry systems, and innovative fintech to deliver long term wealth and environmental regeneration. In our conversation today, we'll explore how he navigated the shift from conventional asset classes to regenerative models, how he sees the future of wealth in the age of climate and AI disruption, and what lessons he has for purpose led women entrepreneurs who are building legacy businesses. And so, without further ado, let's dive in and let's see what Alan has to say. Hello, 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 amigas, and welcome to Amiga Handle Your Shit podcast. So, I have the pleasure of introducing Alan Romero, who is from Forest to Fortune. And we're going to get really knee and deep into his company. But before we do that, you know me, I always want to know about my guests. And I know amigas across the globe always want to know their background. And so, welcome, Alain Romero, here to Amiga Hendership Podcast. How are you?
Hey, Jackie, thank you so much for having me. I am doing fantastic. Um, I have some guys on the roof working on my roof, so
Oh,
if if,
perfect.
if you notice any strange sounds, you never know. Mics these days are
They
high
can pick
tech,
up
so
anything, huh?
or,
They
or
can,
or not,
or
or they can
not.
block everything. So we'll see.
Yes, that would be fabulous if they block it off. But anyhow, and si pasa, pues no pasa nada, as we say
Okay.
here. So no
Yes.
problem here. So, Alan, I've heard about this company through Sergio, and I know that there's more to what he provided back then. But here's the thing. I always ask my amigas, mis amigos who come on the mic, because I we all want to know where you're from, your background. So tell us, can you let us know where you're from, what your family background, your personal life, let's just say.
Yes. So I think yeah, we met through Santiago and through Linda. I am originally from Mexico City,
Oh, okay.
and what brought me here is that my mother was an MD and out of Mexico City, out of UNAM,
Okay.
and she came to California to study eye surgery.
Oh,
So at a very young age, um, I was here with her in my early, not even teens. It was like 7 years old, 7 years old. And I was with her at the big institutes for eye surgery. There's one at UCSF, and then there's
uh-huh.
there's another one at UCLA. But initially, we moved to San Francisco.
Oh.
So those are early childhood memories of missing my friends and missing my grandparents and just family in Mexico. Um, and just I was able to hang in with my mother a little bit, and then I would say, "Mom, I'm going back." So I would spend time with my mother, and then I would go back to Mexico, where I would land at my grandparents' house, and that was kind of like my early childhood um, until I chose because my mother gave me the opportunity. Um, to have a residency in the US and eventually becoming a citizen until I chose that I wanted to follow in her footsteps at least and study at the University of California. So that was right after high school. And so that's
Oh.
when I moved to California uh, on my own, you could say, and
Okay.
to go to college.
And which college? Somewhere in the
I
UC system, you said?
No, so yes, yes. I hadn't finished high school, so I what I did is this could be very interesting for um, the audience's young adults. So what I did was I didn't finish high school in Mexico, and what I did is I went into community college. And what I did is I focused on the requirements to get into courses that would lead to my interests that were going to be accepted by, let's say, the UC system. So
Okay.
that's what I did. So I spent 2 years at community college, and then I transferred to UCSC. And so that's very possible, very doable. I did complete a general ed, like a high school. I tested out of high school, you could say.
Yeah.
But I don't even think that's necessary. That was just for me to have.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow, that is a very unique way of circumventing high school, jumping into the college level. Because
Yes,
usually over here, obviously elementary, middle, high school, then college, then graduate, and all the things, the steps. But it's important to know that there are different types of steps. You don't have to take one unique path. You can take several paths.
and I wasn't even very scholastic. I didn't have much interest in college until I decided that I wanted to go to university because I began to see it as access. So
Right.
once I understood that education was access, then I got serious about, and what I did is I got serious with math and I got serious with my writing, um, without knowing exactly, where that would lead me.
Mm.
Where I eventually chose to become an economist, and also did some postgraduate work at the University of California. So yeah, it's never, I knew the direction, but I couldn't see the entire road. And
Yeah, yeah.
the road emerges as we walk along, right?
Yes, you take action. Like it
Yeah.
breeds clarity. And journey is never just linear. It's not just one direction. It's very zigzag. Oh, I'm
Yes.
gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. You just never know where life is gonna take you, right?
Yes. I knew I am a real estate developer. I am a developer in general, you could say around the world, but um, my grandfather was a developer, and what I did know, he didn't say much in general, but he said at the dinner table, he said, if you want to get into development, he said, go at it through the finance side.
Yeah,
That is the only thing he told me, because the limit is always um, the financiers always establish the budget, the limit. So
right.
he said if I was to do it all over again, I would probably go at it through finance. So I did hear that and I knew that, but I didn't know exactly how that was going to play out.
Right, right. Well, I mean, money, what do they say? Money rules the world. Like, and it's perfect. It's a great advice because if you're going to get into development, you need money for that. You need an extraordinary amount of money to
Yes.
develop property and whatnot. Okay, so you studied economics, you became an economist, and now a real estate developer. And so you started, what I read was that you were doing certain asset classifications, like meaning like right now you're in forestry, but there was other things that you were endeavoring in, right?
Yes, the first thing that I wanted to understand was how money worked. And
Mm.
so how in in bank hallways. So the first thing I did is I went to work for banks.
Okay.
And then once I had that foundation, I could never really work. I've always been very entrepreneurially minded, so I
Yeah.
couldn't really work for an institution for too long or too much. But I did know that I wanted to have a bank foundation, a banking foundation. So
Yeah.
that's the first thing I did. And then, real estate, there are so many, the licensing is independent as a broker or whatnot. So I became an agent, I became a broker, I started flipping homes, and then I went into development, real estate development. Yeah, so
So
uh,
then, okay, so you had all these steps, and so you went into real estate development. Now, take us from development into where what you're doing today. Because I'm like, how do you even go there? Like it just and explain to us about that aha moment that you had with Force to Fortune because it just I mean, from the research that I did, I'm like, this is fascinating stuff. Like, how do you jump from one thing to another? Like, it just, I
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
know,
yeah,
right?
yes. And so to dispel that right off the bat, it's all real estate development. So instead of, let's say, developing buildings
Uh-huh.
in Los Angeles, I am developing forests in the tropics. Okay.
Uh-huh.
Um, so the way that happened is all having to do with highest and best use. So, but I was very fortunate to have I guess a lot of people don't believe in fortune, but they believe in fate. I was looking at the diary of a CEO the other day, and they were basically saying that before you even know that you are going to make a choice, the signal has already been created and sent by your brain automatically, almost like the way your heart works. So,
Yeah.
do we have free will? Is a big question, and it seems to be that we don't. So a lot of things are predestined. So along my journey, it was in my destiny to meet an iconic developer here in Los Angeles. His name is Manuel Mesa, and Manuel not only is a big creator and accomplished developer in Los Angeles, but he is also non-traditional. So it took me 10 years to become his partner, but when I set my mind to it, developing is something that you learn by doing, I would say. USC teaches a course on development, then that'll give you the fundamentals, but it's something you have to do experience and fall and get back up, 100 times to get it right. So one of the things that I was big on during my university journey was understanding value, just understanding value, how value is derived. Um, and so I had that as a big background in my toolbox, and that carried through and has carried through my journey. Another big thing that carried through my journey is uh, being in touch with my inner child. In other words, what is it? What was it? And what is it that I enjoyed as a child? And
Ah,
I recall very clearly that I would ask for toys as a child, not necessarily because I liked them for me, but I knew what I was going to trade them for with my friends, and I knew the things they had that I wanted.
yeah.
So that's so so things like that, those were my compasses. I didn't know
Yeah.
exactly. I knew those were my compasses. So I knew I liked trading And then later on, I developed scholastically the understanding of value. And working in development with manual, I understood that everything had to do with highest and best use and development. So when you have a lot or you have an old property on a lot and you're going to tear it down,
Right.
the big question is, what are we going to do now? And so the work that Manuel did is he took commercial buildings that had lost their way over time, that
Yeah.
maybe were 50, 60, 70 years old. And what happens is a lot of light industrial or commercial buildings are built to suit. So
Mm.
they are built for a particular use, a particular industry. And the only constant in life is change.
Yeah.
Beginning with the planet. The planet is constantly moving, constantly changing. So same thing happens with property. Eventually, the use that it was intended for becomes obsolete.
Yeah. Yeah.
And those are the biggest opportunities here in town. Um, because you see them, they're white elephants, nobody knows what to do with them. And so Manuel began uh, to bring creative and innovative uses to buildings that had lost their way. So highest and best use is something that I learned in urban society paired with my understanding of value. And along the way, uh, there came a point where I was competing for the same property with the same people. And it started, Los Angeles started becoming very small at that moment.
Mm.
And I needed a change. I
Right.
wanted a change. I needed a change. This must have been like over 10 years ago. And my friend Santiago, who I've known for 20 years, invited me to a Nicaragua resort property presentation.
Yeah.
And I thought, that's perfect. Uh, that's exactly what I need. That sounds like completely opposite to what I'm living here. I want something new. So I thought maybe I can learn about developing resort property, and that's what I'm going to do. And in that presentation, one of the first presenters, if not the first, was this a British gentleman. And he went on stage and started talking about trees as asset preservation vehicles and green returns vehicles. Fast forward, that gentleman and I, years later, created a fund. I took that fund to an accelerator for NGOs
Yeah.
that were in the forestry space, and they said, "Wow, we presented your thesis, and they love it. Would you be interested in being a part of a roundtable? All of the NGOs globally are going to gather here in Guatemala." I'd never been to Guatemala, and the thesis, the fund that we created was a reforestation fund.
Huh.
So for wealthy people to buy property in Nicaragua and plant and own forests. So I said, yes, yes. And so that was my shoe-in into the real world of reforestation and saving the planet.
Yeah.
But what I learned there was that saving the planet was a donation-based model. NGOs received donations and they were planting trees.
Yeah.
Uh, because a lot of trees and forests have been lost, let's put it that way, for
Yeah.
multiple reasons. So
Right.
mainly for resources. So as demographics explosion continues, we basically are eating the planet,
Yeah.
either the animals or the resources. So
Right.
I began to understand the world of saving the planet, but from a perspective of I am so in love with these ecosystems, these beautiful trees, beautiful birds, beauty, and how can I they respect the way I think. They respect the experts, the career-long experts in this.
Yeah.
I know nothing about forests, but they respect my way of seeing things and my solution. So I thought, how can I continue to crack codes? And so during my time in multiple trips to Guatemala, Guatemala is fortunate because it has a mature
Uh-huh.
tropical hardwood industry. The government for over 30 years has protected their biosphere. The
Oh,
biosphere
really?
is the bio, and it's a UN project. So the biosphere uh, collides with the Mexican biosphere and the Belizean biosphere, and it's known as the Mayan Triangle.
Oh,
So here in the Americas, aside from let's say the Amazon, the largest body of tropical rainforest is there, and it's significant and it's important because it's a biosphere. You Google biosphere, you'll see that biospheres are not everywhere.
yeah.
But a biosphere is the group of ecosystems from where life emanates from.
Mm.
So that's the importance of the biospheres on the planet. And as an economist, I already knew that water reserves, in other words, where water accumulates from rain
Yeah.
naturally, not only lakes and dams and things like that, but underground reservoirs, the largest ones, are already owned by corporations. And if you understand the trend is uh, water stress, meaning
Yeah.
there are and there will continue to be more and more areas in the planet where we will suffer for water.
Mm.
So that's something that I already had in the back of my head, and I thought there was a time in my life where I said, no more realizations, no more foregone realizations. I thought to myself, I am going to act on my visions and I'm going to act on my realizations. So the water stress train had already left. The corporations already own the
Oh,
water on the planet. But
yeah.
I began to see where things were headed and where things are headed, which I was ahead of the curve. It was published 2022. It's called The Economics of Biodiversity. So I started my projects and my visions before that in
Mm.
2018. And in 2022, Cambridge published The Economics for Biodiversity. There, what Cambridge ascertains and proves is that biodiversity is the wealth of nations.
Mm.
So we think that gold and minerals and are
Right.
the wealth of nations traditionally, but it has now been proven that biodiversity is the wealth of nations. Further, the UK Parliament states that nature underpins all economic activity. You see, I didn't know this for a fact because I hadn't done the studies, but there was something that was driving me to this space.
Right.
And as you continue to read and find out, there are three things that we are all globally solving for. So again, as demographics grow, it is estimated that there will be 2 billion more people by 2050. So demographics will continue to grow.
Uh-huh.
Our relationship with the biosphere is something like this. So this is nature, this is us. And as much as we think we are protected from the animals and, the jungles, we depend on them heavily.
Right. Right.
And our relationship with nature is becoming strained. So stressed and strained.
Yeah.
And a lot of that became evident through the recent pandemic. We began to develop a consciousness as to why is this happening? What does nature have to do with it? How are we connected to nature?
Right.
But in reality, as a society, as a global society, not only physically, but also consciously,
Yeah.
we have become disconnected from nature.
Right.
So I was fortunate to have been introduced to my current partner. He's a former director of the Mayan Biosphere Reserve, so he's had a 30-year trajectory in forestry, institutional, worked for the government in several roles, leading the protection of the biosphere.
Right. Right.
But at some point, 25 years ago, he left the institution to dedicate himself to his forest.
Yeah.
And there is that he did a number of experiments. And those experiments, from those experiments, he and I designed a very particular forest, which is the current initiative at Forests to Fortune. So, what Javier, my partner, did, and I didn't finish telling you, but the demographic explosion is creating three problems that are affecting the planet. How are we going to house, feed, and clothe 2 billion more people
Yeah.
without continuing to harm the planet?
Yeah.
Because it's
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
real.
Right.
And I haven't even mentioned climate change because climate
Right.
change is
That's
just
separate.
one political agenda.
Yeah.
It's one agenda. What we are talking about here that has been proven by Cambridge is the biosphere. So the ecosystems from where life emanates from.
Yeah.
Those we cannot lose
Yeah.
because it's where life emanates from. So,
Right.
um, so Javier, during those 30 years, so during my time with the NGOs, you had the global funds there in those rooms working with the NGOs and trying to crack this code. And I was introduced to Javier. He was there uh, as a spectator, like myself in a way, but I was there presenting a thesis, and he was there in the room as a spectator um, because he himself had detached himself from institutional work and became independent.
Right.
So he kept calling me and saying, let's do something. Let's do something. Let's do something. Um, because ultimately, from my time with the NGOs, I quickly realized what recently just happened. The majority of them were significantly dependent on US aid. That's
Yeah.
the name of the
Right.
organization, US aid.
Yeah. Yeah.
And US aid has been a big funder of these types of initiatives.
Right.
But it's also big business for the US, okay? So when USAID was taken away by this current administration, a lot of those initiatives fell apart.
Yeah.
Over 1,000 jobs were lost in Latin America alone. But I also was thinking, well, not only are they hyper dependent, and in my understanding of value, you can you can't be dependent on one
One
particular
place.
thing
I was just gonna say that. I'm like, yeah, yeah, yeah.
because that particular thing goes away, well, there goes
And
away
it's
everything.
done. Yeah.
Right. So it's highly, very risky. So the other thing that I realized is that um, the impact. In other words, are they truly working on things that I think are what we should be working on? So Javier calls me, and by that time, working uh, in collaboration with USAID and the Rainforest Alliance, I had already visited several farms, family owned independent farms, sustainable regenerative farms for food,
Uh-huh.
that I had studied in order to create a portfolio that uh, private and public institutions could invest in order to continue to grow the supply for regenerative agricultural types of food.
Right.
Um, and so that gave me the understanding, number one, of what the big problem is. So the big problem is what you know already because of Netflix, which is in industrial farming.
Mm-hmm.
So industrial farming leaves behind deserts. So there is the desertification of the planet. So, which is very evident. They call it the green wall in Africa. There's the green wall, and then above the green wall, it's all desert. But the problem is that wall and everything below it is green. The problem is that the green continues to
To
shrink,
lessen. Yeah.
to lessen, and the deserts continue to grow. So
Mm.
again, we are on the wrong trajectory. We're on the wrong trend here. So that phenomenon is called degradation. Degradation is when the ecosystem ceases to exist.
Mm.
It was all forest at one point. So think of Latin America now. Let's localize it. Think of something closer to home. Think of Central California.
Yeah.
You know how Northern California, there's all those beautiful trees,
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
right? But just south of that, there's no trees.
No trees.
And
Right.
it's all cattle. You know how you're driving on the five and there's cattle on the
Right.
left, on the right, or simply acreage, which now we think of as romantic, but in reality, those barren
Yeah.
pastures,
It's very desolate.
it's desolate and essentially it lacks life.
Mm-hmm.
So no more trees, no more birds, no more
Right.
fungus, no more worms, no more, it's just dead. So we've learned through, folk culture to romanticize those pastures. But in reality, that is degradation. So that was the first thing that I started to look at as I was traveling through Latin America in those days, and my eyes began to see degradation. Oh, so when you start to understand it,
Right.
it's a good part of the planet is now degraded. So
Mm.
now let's bring it home. When you think of the Amazon forest,
Yeah.
you think the Amazon is burning.
Yeah.
Everyone, because those are the images that are coming here is that the Amazon
Right.
is burning. Why is it burning? Well, the business model is you buy land that you can cut down and then you cut it down and you get the money back because you have the timber. And anything that's not worth anything gets burnt.
Hmm. Okay.
So the trees that are suitable for industry go to industry and the rest gets burned, and then they establish a cattle ranch. But cattle ranching only has a certain span of life
Ah.
before it becomes unsustainable in today's economy. When you have a cattle ranch, you have an overpopulated ranch that is not sustainable because you have to bring everything from the outside. Food, medicine, doctors,
Yeah.
have to come in to take care of the cattle. And with the cost of energy, all of that needs to be transported. All of a sudden, cattle ranching is not viable. So
Right.
our thirst and appetite for meat, I love meat, is creating this situation where more and more areas need to be cleared.
Yeah.
Essentially, the ones that are paying for our meat consumption are the trees. Well, yes, because the trees get cut down, the ones that are good for industry, they're the ones that bring in the money.
Right.
But then who is planting trees? So Javier calls me and calls me and calls me. And I'm like,
I'm like, this dude is just bugging me.
yes. And when you meet Javier, you realize he is the right man to be in partnership with. He has the right heart, the right mind, and a great trajectory. So you have to be really careful. And what I didn't want to get into, because that whole area is sprayed for the fruit fly. So a lot of great stuff comes out of that area for the US. The US protects it against the fruit fly. So you can grow, the dragon fruit there, which has high demand. So a lot of high demand, high value food can be grown there. But I didn't want to start with perishables, and I didn't want to start at the end. I wanted to start from the beginning.
Mm,
And so the way that I would phrase it is I said, Javier, you said that during these past 30 years you restored a cattle ranch, and I'm talking to you because I am amazed at what you did. I mean, who brings back a tropical rainforest?
yeah.
Just for the experiment of it, it's very costly. I said, but among all of that beautiful work that you did, so Las Azucenas in Guatemala, which is the ranch, the property that is our model project.
Yeah.
Outside of that is all cattle ranches, and everywhere in that whole region is cattle ranches.
Uh-huh.
Um, and it's a little forest in the middle of cattle ranches, and so I said, you told me you planted some tropical hardwoods. I said, and that
How?
and that instead of maturing in 70 years, they mature in 18 years. And you have these proofs already of mature trees that you planted from seed.
Yeah.
So then I said, how many, because Javier, you come from a privileged region of the world, you've worked with a mature tropical hardwood industry. So part of the story is the biosphere in Guatemala is being protected, and a part of it, the indigenous communities exploit it selectively through a protocol to maintain it, but they selectively use those trees and they export them to the US and to Europe because tropical hardwood not only is highly it's protected, it's highly valuable, and it's scarce. So I said, how many of your colleagues that you've known for the past 30 years, forest engineers,
Right.
how many of them have grown trees like you do? He says, no one. No one in Guatemala that I know of, and no one that I know of. I said, why
Right.
is that? He says, because forest engineers, in the books, it says that it takes 70 to 100 years for one of these trees to mature.
Right.
So now think of it, when we're cutting these trees that are 70 years old to
Wow.
be used, and if it takes 70 years for them to grow, then because it does take 70 to 100 years in the natural environment.
Yeah.
So, nature does its thing, and all of a sudden, after 70 years, you get these beautiful trees and then little ones all around. So I said, why don't we plant a tropical hardwood forest? So I said, let's do the numbers. So from there, we wrote a white paper, and it's essentially a thesis of what is the minimum number of trees to be established as a tropical hardwood forest, producing forest, decentralized. So I thought, why don't we bring the future and the present together? So the future of the world is cryptocurrency,
Right. AI,
decentralization,
AI, cryptocurrency, yeah,
decentralization.
right.
So I said, why don't we plant something that then we can tie to the blockchain?
Huh.
And I didn't know what I was talking about.
Yeah.
I had an inkling, just as much as I didn't really know much about forestry because I'm not a forester, but I learned over the years
Hmm.
through the fund I put together, and I learned by, by reading and by being in this world of reforestation in the NGO world.
Yeah.
So I started thinking not only of tying this experiment based on 30 years of lab work that he did,
Right.
not lab work, but real like on the ground work,
Yeah. Yeah.
and the future of the world with blockchain, because blockchain, as much as it is the future and the present, it's very taxing on the environment. So I
Yes.
thought tying these two together is a great offset,
Yeah.
is a beautiful offset and a beautiful story. So then we established, so we did the study, the economic study, and then we planted this forest. Think of it as a checkerboard. The checkerboard, every square
Uh-huh.
has a number, A1, A2, A3, right?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Like
Uh-huh.
like a chess set,
Right.
checkerboard. Okay. So people say that it's not the trees, it's the way that I see the trees, because forestry and trees have been around forever.
Hmm.
But I began to see the trees not only for what they are, which is for their environmental reasons, but also for their economic reasons and for their social reasons. And so I thought, not a lot of people. I was looking at the forest. I said, "Wow, Javier, we have we have at $9,000 a tree exit, 10,000 trees. That's like $90 million in trees." And I thought, and they're all, so it starts small, but then I thought, this is like Home Depot. You buy the tree this big, it costs you this much. You buy it this big, it costs you that much. So I began to think, I said,
Huh.
I wonder how many people can afford to plant and own a forest like this. To begin with, the
Yeah.
experts don't do it. So then I began to study who owns forests, and I began to understand that it's the ultra wealthy families that invest in forests for generational reasons. So to them, it's an allocation in resources,
Right.
a place where they may go hunt, a place where they may go selectively cut some trees, plant more trees. But if you have a forest, particularly a large forest as a family, you pretty much, and you know how to manage it, you have it made. It's an asset, not a
Mm.
liability, if you know
Right.
how to manage it. So I thought, wow, how can I give more people the opportunity to participate in this very lucrative investment?
Yeah.
So I started working with the lawyers and the accountants and developed the structures to create the tree, the individual tree, as a tradable asset.
Mm.
So not only is the tree sit in its own little square, and the owner of the tree has a leasehold estate on that little square for 20 years, and the tree matures in 18. So the owner of this tree has the right to be there legally.
Yeah.
They own the tree legally, like owning a car.
Yeah.
So even though the car moves around and the tree is fixed, but what gives you ownership of the tree are two things: the VIN number and the DMV, which is where all of VIN numbers are tracked and ownership is tracked. So there you have the land, you have the right to the land through a leasehold estate. You own the tree because the tree is identified by a number and a geolocation. And the last thing was the management of the tree.
Right.
So when you buy a tree, you have a lease on the land, paid for until the tree matures. You
20
own the
years.
tree, and the management is paid for. So now you have a tree, a tropical hardwood tree, which is rare, scarce, and protected by the government, registered with the local government, and you have the paperwork on the blockchain, let's say. So
Mm-hmm.
now you could trade the tree
Mm.
because you're trading the paperwork. It's like the title of the car. Whoever owns
Yeah.
the title owns
Yeah.
the car.
Right.
Whoever owns the paperwork owns the tree.
Right.
So
So as owner of the tree, you get to decide what you want to do with the tree. Like you could sell it, you can lease it, do
you
lease
can,
back.
so the things you can do with the tree, yes, you can decide what you want to do with the tree. So the tree has value, and the value is nothing but increasing. And why? So this is the reason why I thought starting with trees was a great way to go. There's a lot of land to restore, so we're only going to pick the best, the most suitable properties. And by the way, these properties are low value because they are degraded already. So we would buy degraded land on the
Yeah.
expansion. This is the quality of the tree. The tree exhibits exponential returns,
Huh.
unlike a stock. For example, a stock can only increase in value, but it's the same share.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So I buy it today for $2 and I sell it to you for $4.
Yeah.
The tree exhibits exponential returns. Why is that? Well, it's the same as the stock regarding price. The price per board foot, which is what is measured, is typically increasing because these are rare, scarce, and species that are protected by governments. So you can't just cut a tree. So this timber, which is highly valuable, for what? For musical instruments, yachts, and beautiful home finishes, furniture. The price is increasing all the time,
Right.
but so is the volume of the tree. So when you buy a growing tree, let's say you buy a 5-year-old, a 6-year-old tree, it's going to do nothing but grow.
Mm-hmm.
So you basically are leaving the returns to nature. So when I go to sleep, all of my trees are growing every day.
Yeah.
So the value of my trees is constantly increasing along with the price. So when you multiply price times increasing price times increasing volume, what that generates is the classic definition of an exponential return, which is only seen in nature.
Mm.
So that's why I thought, okay, if we are going to create initiatives to restore the planet, now think, Latin America. I don't want to put it this way, but in the past 100 years, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. No,
Okay.
I'm hearing everything. I'm just so
Oh,
fascinated
it
by
was
what you
because there was
say.
no, there was the noise. Okay. In the past 100 years, the ecosystems in Latin America have been decimated.
Yeah, yeah,
Decimated.
right.
So now we can understand that because now the same societies that decimated the forests also have scientists that are interested in solving the problem. So, where was I going with this one? Um, so if we're going to get into a restoration initiative, because there's so much to restore, think Tesla,
Right.
the car.
Uh-huh.
So so Elon wanted to break into a category which was the electric car, and he started with the ultra nice car. So we want to solve big problems that really have to do with feeding the planet and restoring ecosystems. So the way we're going about it is the boutique way.
Okay.
So what we're doing throughout Latin America is establishing boutique ecosystems, high value ecosystems. Same way like in Napa you have the wineries,
Yeah.
we are creating a tropical hardwood industry. Like
Okay.
the wine industry, we are creating tropical hardwood industry privately in the best areas of Latin America, starting where we have our proof of concept, our MVP, which is Las Azucenas, which is
That's
where we have the 30-year track record of the work that Javier did. So this is combining the way Javier sees the ecosystems and the way I began to see the trees. So this is investing in the environment. So this is
yeah.
the impact investment initiative. So what I learned by working with the NGOs is that they are donation-based initiatives.
Hmm.
And what is replacing donation-based initiatives, which is much more effective, is impact investment, which is investment with a purpose.
Right.
Where you are looking at, in the cost benefit, you're looking at environmental and social costs, and you're looking at environmental and social benefits. So at Las Azucenas, the other investment that we did, aside from the white paper and establishing the forest based on a proof of concept that he had, we began to invest in the technology selectively. So we invested in our own tree inventory system.
Hmm.
So asset management. So we invested in our own asset management system, and what that does is it brings each tree and the paperwork into a system. So you have an inventory of trees that are individually owned in a system. We also layered it with established Swiss technology that allows us to, so our property, our forest is measured for what growth and health. So we guarantee our trees for growth and health, and we measure them through, they are monitored through existing technology that has nothing to do with us, it's third party.
Hmm.
And we also layer it with more Swiss technology that allows us to measure the ecosystem impact. So how many trees we're protecting, how many birds, how many plant species, how many animals now live there, where everything around it is cattle ranching. So we selectively invested in that system, and what that system allows us to do is, let's say someone wants to own 5 trees
Okay.
from our tree nursery, you could call it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they say, I want 5 trees, Alana. I say, okay, so give me your name and your email. So I put in the system, name and email. Then I select the trees that you said you wanted. I go, this one, this one, and this one, and this one.
Yeah.
I press the button, and what the system does is it draws from the inventory into the paperwork,
Uh-huh.
and it sends it to you for signature. I sign it, you sign it, and you're basically buying trees, in this case, in our Guatemala site, um, from a US company. So we created the structures to create the trust for people to invest. And so I was thinking about a lot of things when I created this. Not only was I thinking Home Depot and
Yeah,
checkerboard, I was
right.
thinking, real estate development. I was thinking um,
Inheritance,
giving
legacy.
giving more because, as you know, in private initiatives, you need to be um, a high net worth. You need to be a high net worth individual, and
Yeah,
so that leaves a lot of people out.
yeah,
You would not believe how much women and moms love our initiative
right.
because they can at least make a decision and take control and own their trees. Which, by the way, that is one of the big faculties in Swiss banking. When you put your money in a US bank, they lend it. By
Yeah,
law, they can lend, I think, up to 80 or 90% of it.
right. Yeah,
They,
yeah,
they
yeah.
maintain a 10% reserve. In Switzerland, no. In Switzerland, your money is your money, and they can't lend it out. So they can't gamble with your money.
Is that the bank that you guys use for your
So,
company?
at Las Azucenas, think about it this way. When you invest in a stock,
Yeah.
behind that stock is a profit and loss statement.
Hmm.
There's a lot of things happening, a lot of employees, a lot of things, a lot of moves, a lot of things. When you buy a tree, there is only one balance sheet. There is one balance sheet per tree. In other words, you own your tree, you've already paid for the management, you own it outright, you own the leasehold estate. There's no more gambling.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, there's always variables and things that are changing, but we guarantee the tree for growth and health. You've already paid for it. So, in that sense, and if you understand the way these agroforestry forests work and how they're protected against fires and against things that could happen,
right.
these are designed forests. And so, the science of agroforestry is precisely to protect against the natural phenomena, to protect the forests. And
Right.
so, this is a designed, this is a by design protected type of
Asset class.
asset class. So
Yeah.
that is a little bit of what we've done. Now we've spun off. So we took the technology, we licensed it to a group called Canopy Marketplace,
Uh-huh.
who one of them was the original, actually two of them there are the original developers of the marketplace. And there are now five founding members that are, including myself, that are part of the Canopy Marketplace technology. Canopy Marketplace is a technology, a global technology to empower ecosystems around the world through financial inclusion.
Hmm. Is this a public company or is this private?
This is a private startup currently.
Okay.
This is a private startup currently. Um, But for those that are visionary and those who understand the world of investment, they see a lot of good things in what could be done with this,
Mm.
including governments. We've been approached by governments, like, for example, the government of Luxembourg. They are a fintech country. Luxembourg is a fintech country. For example, Luxembourg was the country that created the first legislation so you can own a star.
Uh,
So they are fascinated with our initiative where you can own a tree.
that makes sense.
And really all they want is for their citizens, because in Luxembourg, the per capita income is like $300,000 per individual.
Oh, wow.
So what they want is to create financial inclusion initiatives for them and for their citizens, so their citizens can invest in different asset classes around the world. So
Yeah.
um, they understand it. We used to call what we did democratization, democratizing
Yeah.
forests or alternative investments. Um, we now know that it's financial inclusion in the fintech world, and their reality is we can't do enough fast enough
Mhm.
for the environment. And
Yeah.
so, we're just going to do our best in the time that we have and contribute as much as we can to the restoration projects.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, so now we have two types of understanding. We have the the legal and uh, the legal and tech component, but we also have our forestry protocols and understanding of the restoration of the ecosystem itself.
Yeah.
So these are separate entities that are sister initiatives, um, and that's what we're coming out to the world with. And it's super cool because I can talk to um my Latino community,
Yeah.
that has always been super supportive of my initiatives, whether it be, restoration of warehouses in town, and now trees, and I've had couples, I've had single moms, I've had single women, single men on the Latino community side, and I have investors all over the world. I have investors in Europe. I have investors here in the US, super sophisticated, super unsophisticated, and that's the beauty of it.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone gets to participate in their own way,
Yeah.
um, and have a piece, a tree, and have own a tree or trees in a growing asset, a growing forest. So it's been very interesting. We recently completed very extensive due diligence. Um, I'm a developer. I'm used to due diligence. I've I am a fiduciary. I
Mm-hmm.
have run funds. I've created and I've run funds. I've never been through this type of due diligence. Um, it was completed by a company called Coins Paid, and Coins Paid is an OTC, as they call it. It's an over-the-counter marketplace for cryptocurrency.
Yeah.
And they manage about, the last number that I have, it was like they're probably close to like 10% of all crypto transactions around the globe. They, verified the ownership documentation of Las
Yeah.
Azucenas, Javier's background, my background, our entity here, our mutual agreements, our agreements with clients. Their the legal department revised all of that very thoroughly, and now we are going to have a direct pipeline uh, from, let's say, our forest
Yeah.
through the U.S. into the world of crypto through this OTC. So when someone wants to pay with Bitcoin, what the OTC does is it tells us, well, how do you want to get paid, in dollars or in, you know,
Yeah.
euros, or what do you want? So we have now connected our projects, forestry projects, uh, with the future.
Yeah.
So people talk about um, let's say the new world, the new paradigm,
Yeah.
and the new world, the new paradigm is unfolding, and we are very much part of it. is, technology and cryptocurrency, decentralization.
Right. Right.
Decentralization is the present and is the future paradigm, and all of the previous constructs are dancing and recreating themselves around it.
Yeah. They what I my impression is that it's being dismantled. The fiat currency as known today is being dismantled. And so your company is on the cutting edge because you are allowing to buy through Bitcoin through the cryptocurrency monetary system. Yeah. This is
Tying
great.
it tying it to
Yeah.
restoration. So it's the ultimate. It's um, the environment and the problem and the solution, you could say,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
in
yeah.
a way. But no, one of the things that I wanted to say, Jackie, is when I met you, I was very curious, very interested because, what I understood about you is that you sort of left, the legal
Yeah.
world.
Yeah.
You're a lawyer, and you embraced wellness, and you embraced, consciousness and spirituality, you could say.
Yes.
And that was one of the big things that gave rise to this project is um, my transformation. So
Mm,
I went through a transformation. I used to very much be part of just a small little bubble,
yeah.
um, the LA bubble. And my consciousness grew to now, where it is. And this project very much, as part of that transformation, is my connection with what I call infinite intelligence.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I believe that there is a pool of wisdom and knowledge um, in the cosmos. We are the cosmos. The
Mm,
universe is within us.
right.
Um, we, uh, and we are made through it and by it. So. Um, I began to study and understand my connection to who I am, which is the universe,
Right.
and how to connect and access that wisdom. And so people say, you know, people that are in this world say that have been in forestry or crypto or whatever you want to call it, even the legal aspect of it is like, how the heck did you come up with this?
Yeah.
Like, where did this come from? You know? Because I'm not a forester or or a technologist or anything like that. And I said, it, this is all divine.
Mm-hmm.
This is all divine, and this is all accessing divine wisdom.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so it's that's I think that's why you and I are talking right now because
Yeah.
it's very much aligned with the way you are.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. I think I'm not scared to dabble into unfamiliar territory.
Yeah,
I've done it countless times.
yeah.
And this new span of my life, which I call it my 2.0, I'm 51. I'm like, this is the time. Better now than ever because,
Yeah.
chronologically speaking, will I get another 50 years of life? I don't know. I have no idea. And so now is the time to engage and rediscover tools and skills and just get super aligned with conscious level thought makers. I really I'm enamored by that passion and enamored
Yeah.
by just freeing yourself from this 3D paradigm and exploring the quantum level of
Yes.
consciousness.
Yes.
And so
Absolutely.
this
Absolutely.
this to me is my jam.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So like for example, last night I I woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning and there I was, and so what am I going to do now? Um, and so what I did is I went into meditation,
Yeah.
and I purposely just bring myself into the quantum, right? So
Yeah.
open myself up
Right.
and try to go as deep as I can, and I'm reminded of how good it is, and it reminds me how my default is to want to carry
Mm,
the world on my shoulders,
right.
where really what there is to do is let go
Allow
and
it.
allow. That's right.
Allow. Yeah,
Yeah,
allow it.
yeah,
Exactly. Allow it. Um, I know we're getting to the close end of our conversation here, but I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you, how does one go about purchasing a tree and what would be the benefit of this purchase other than holding the rights and perhaps leaving it as legacy to your offspring or to others monetarily? Like, how can I benefit from
yes,
this?
yes. So on our website,
Okay.
it has which is forests, plural, forests truefortune.com.
Uh-huh.
Um, it tells you everything, and in this particular case, our top ambassador that is connected with you is Linda Gonzalez.
Oh yeah. Uh-huh.
So if you provide her email to your listeners, she can answer all their questions. But essentially, it's through the website you can understand everything about it.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're interested, then I can get on the phone with anyone and answer any remaining questions.
Okay. Yeah.
And then it's as simple as saying I want 3, 4, 5 trees, and I want them in this name. And this is the email for me to receive my documentation that I can sign electronically. So then we put it together and we send it to you. And then the money flows either through, depending on the amount of trees that you're buying, it
Yeah.
could be as easy as a Zelle, as a Venmo,
Uh-huh.
an ACH, or a wire.
Okay. Okay. And that do you, I mean, like do you get equity
Wait,
into
well,
this or how do
it,
you how do
so
you disseminate the actual, like for instance let's say like I have a home and I have equity in my home and then I can pull out that equity so that I can use that money to do something else with it, right?
yes. So
Is that same sort of the concept or no?
yeah, so think of it for now is you own the tree, and this tree is increasing in value. So through the technology, we show you how much your tree is appreciating in value,
Yeah.
and the difference between what you paid for it and what is now worth is the equity that you're talking about.
Uh-huh.
Um, you can sell your tree at any time to someone else. So typically, this is something that you would hold 4 years, for example, and then once it's appreciated significantly, then you can sell it. Even if you sell it at a discount, you're making money. The
Okay.
other thing you said, eventually the tree will mature. And when the tree
Right.
matures, we will call you and we will say, we have a buyer for the timber.
Ah.
And then you'll say, and then we'll just letting we have a buyer for the timber. Are you okay with it? And then you say yes. And then we sell that timber and we send you the money for your timber. We collect 10%
Okay.
at the
Okay.
end
At the end, when all
because
is said and done.
and that's just like for brokering, like finding the buyer, cutting the tree, turning the tree into the product, which is like boards, for example, and then putting it in the freight. So
Mm.
that's what the 10% is for at the end.
Okay.
So, but in between the beginning and the end, which is when the timber is used, you could trade your tree with other tree owners in our community. Right now, the community is young, it's new, so it's in formation. What has been around and we know how to do perfectly well is guarantee the tree the growth and the health. So
Mm. Yeah.
that's taken care of. the marketplace is a growing experiment, you could call it.
Yeah.
And you, in the meantime, you have ownership of that. So this is an allocation in alternative assets as much as your other allocations
Yeah.
are. And it's a very simple and easy way to own a growing natural asset in your
And,
portfolio.
and then I'm like thinking even like, oh wow, even it's private potential future public on the
Right.
stock market. So
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. This could very well be, let's say, something that let's say both entities eventually become public, for
yeah,
example, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Wow, this is fascinating stuff. Thank you so much for your time, Ellen. I always ask my amigas and amigos who come on the pod if you could provide one or two tips on how an amiga can handle her shit, and I'm sure that it has to do with forest and trees. So
One,
you
one,
say
one,
you.
one, one of the things that I created a long time ago is a curriculum that I call Freedom Day.
Mm,
So if you and your group are interested in participating in a Freedom Day workshop, it's a 1 day workshop. But essentially what it is first of all identifying your Freedom Day. I will become financially free
uh,
in such a day, and beginning by defining financial freedom.
right.
So spending time with that inquiry, and then it's determining what will I exchange specifically society with in order to receive the resources
Yeah. Yeah.
to become free.
Right.
So it's understanding that money is just
It's
one asset
energy.
out of many types of assets and resources. So typically we default to money,
Right.
but if we really understand assets, then we can get there easier and faster. So um, I would say, with or without, the workshop, I would say it's, you know, defining financial freedom and understanding what you're willing to give up and by when, or what value you're willing to provide society in exchange for that freedom. So that's one of the things that I would share with your audience.
Yes. Oh, thank you. That is actually perfect. I really believe that we're all energy, and there has to be some sort of energetic exchange, one thing for the other. And that we're all part of this universal law, right? That we all are connected in some way. And what if I'm going to get a value from this tree, what am I giving to this tree as my energetic exchange?
That's
Hmm.
right.
Well, Alan, this is amazing. I'm so grateful that you're here with us. And so we're going to put in our show notes all the information in order to tap in to become a tree owner, forest2fortune.com. You have an Instagram handle as well, if you can let us know.
Yes, it's forests to fortune.
Okay. So we have Instagram and you're on Facebook, same thing, right?
Yes.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Alan, and I wish you tremendous luck. And I'm sure that this is going to be, I think you're going to be paving the way for many to come.
Yes, I love that idea. And thank you so much, Jackie. It's been a pleasure. And like you said, there are things that we say in this show that we usually don't talk about, and that's because you're so good at providing the space. So thank you.
Oh, no, well, thank you. The honor here is all mine. And if there's any last minute thing that you want to tell us here before we leave, is there anything we left out that you're like eager wanting to say right now? Let us know.
Yes, no, I would say that as we go along our day, it's important to realize that we are connected to the systems that give us life.
Yeah.
And so understanding and getting a deeper understanding of that will always benefit us. So
Yeah.
thank you so much, Jackie.
Thank you. And I'm sure I'm going to see you very soon.
Of course, we'll see you at the networking event.
Exactly, exactly. Well, bravo, my friend, and we will talk later. Thank you so much for being here on Amiga Handle Your Ship podcast.
You too, Jackie. Thank you.